Hello. I'd like to say that, I read the book 1929. It's the name, that's the name of the book, 1929. It's a big red book with the big number, 1929 on it. It's about the crash of 1929, the stock market crash, which happened to be on August 29th, 1929. And if you do 2 and 9, that's 11, and 2 and 9 is 11, so it's 11 and 11 in the date, I don't know. I'm in I'm into numbers, and I believe they're important, and I think they're a sign of things to come. Like 9/11 was very important, and we know that date, don't we? And 9/11 was on a Tuesday, and uh, October 29th, 1929 was a Tuesday. So I believe Tuesdays are very significant as well. But it's when I think a lot of bad things happen on Tuesday. So anyway, I just want to talk about the 2008 crash because I just bought the book Too Big to Fail, written by the same author that wrote 1929. 1929 is right now on the number one on the bestsellers list. So I recommend it. I recommend it. You know, it talks more about the personalities of the people involved in the crash, and it talks about the crash, of course, but it's more about the personalities. The rich people and what they did or how they reacted to the news and how it built up, all the build up to the actual days that the crash happened. Black Tuesday, they called it. And, the big boys, they got hurt, but they were still around. J.P. Morgan, Chase, all the big banks. A lot of banks failed after the Depression, but the big ones stuck around. They were fine. I mean, they got hurt, but it's like if you're a billionaire, you lose 100 million, you're not crying. I mean, most billionaires would cry because they're cheap as hell. They don't want to lose a dollar. So if they lose 100 million, they're crying. But come on, we know the reality, right? Anyway, but I want to talk about 2008. I'm gonna have to do this in 2 videos. It'll be on my feed. You'll find them. Anyway, 2008 was a scam between the Bush administration and the banks. They got together. They had a conversation, let's say, a meeting. And the meeting went like this. We'll let you, the banks, make loans to people that don't deserve the loans. They didn't care that they were giving a $600,000 mortgage to a guy working at McDonald's making $10 an hour. They didn't care. They were doing it anyway. And what did they do? Which, credit default swaps, which were just basically insurance policies on the mortgage in case the McDonald's guy didn't pay it back. The bank got the money for the mortgage. Plus got the house to mortgage auction it off. So they weren't losing anything. They might have sold the house to a guy from McDonald's, but I don't want to put down anybody from McDonald's, but most people don't make a lot of money working at McDonald's unless you're a manager or an owner. But the house wasn't going anywhere. So they were selling the house to a guy who couldn't pay the mortgage, but the house was always going to be there. And a lot of times what they did in '08, well, '08 was the end. So it was really like '05, '04, '06, '07, the lead up to '08. And people would get refinanced. They were doing a lot of refinancing because the interest rates were very low. They were 2%, 2.5%, 3%. Very low compared, especially to today, which is 6 or 7% with good credit. So, people didn't necessarily sell their home. They took out a home equity loan at 2% and put in a better bathroom and a better kitchen in their house. Maybe they bought a new car for husband and wife, so they got 2 cars. And they put it all on the mortgage. And that was fine if you could pay the mortgage. And they probably got a deal. But what did they do by putting the kitchen and bathroom in the house? They upped the value of the house. So that made a more valuable house because it had a new kitchen and a new bathroom. And just the sheer fact of the houses in my area were generally going for $400, $500, between $400 and $500,000. And when they were giving away the money for free to McDonald's guys, they're not really savvy when it comes to finances. So they went to the people and offered $600,000, $700,000 for a $400,000 house. And that was partly too because of the market, because everybody's getting free money. So the houses prices naturally went up because so many people had money and they were bidding on the houses, driving up the prices. So everybody was getting above what they were asking for it. And if you were buying a house, you had to give a quote that was higher than what they were asking. Otherwise, you weren't getting it. So basically, and the people might have, except in 2008 when the crash came, a lot of those people lost their houses and there was a big foreclosure. There were thousands of foreclosures going on. But again, the bank didn't lose anything because they got the house. And they were able to sell it to somebody that could pay the mortgage, because now they weren't giving it to McDonald's guys anymore. Actually, what they did is they gave it to Wall Street, because Wall Street companies are buying up personal houses for a profit, to rent or to sell later on. And so they knew they were going to get their money. So, which I believe Trump is trying to stop corporate investment for houses from buying personal homes, which is a good idea. But it's going to have an effect on the market, because they were buying up those homes and they're cash rich. And the people are still working at McDonald's for $10 an hour, so they can't afford those houses anymore because now they're $800,000 for the same house that eventually was going for $400,000. So, and that they bought for $600,000, which they lost. And because they went into foreclosure, they can't get a mortgage now. So it doesn't matter what the price is. So they have a lot of problems. And that's why they allow these Indians from India and people from Europe coming over here as immigrants. You don't hear ICE going after those people because those people have money. They're not coming here poor. They're buying up these houses that nobody here can afford. And that's why your whole town is turning into Indians. And that's why you have Indian restaurants and Indian supermarkets all over the place, because they have a lot of money in India. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of poverty in India, but there's a lot of wealth. And I question how they make their wealth or how they get their wealth, and whether somebody in the bank in India is handing them the money and saying, here's the money, go to America, get out of here. And then do they really work for the money? I really don't think so. There's a scam going on there. Somewhere in there's a scam. Anyway, that's why they buy gold, because they don't trust cash. So Indians are very big into gold. But not to pick on Indians. There are other groups, Russians, other groups who come in here with money. The poor ones don't come here. The ones with money come here, and that's why ICE isn't going after them. So they own your 7-Elevens, your gas stations, and stuff like that. And ICE isn't going after the owners of 7-Eleven. They might go after the workers of 7-Eleven, but they're not going after the owners. And, it's all a scam. But this is part one. I don't know how many parts they're going to be, but I'm cutting this off right now. And I suggest you go to part 2.